starting off with 200 kilo for week 2, fairly easy. Just need to watch the technique really, because I don't think it was particularly that great when it came to technique when it was off the floor. But I try like pull slack before, but sometimes it just doesn't follow through, weirdly. So it just felt a bit harder, of course, because usually I pull slack and everything. But on my back down sets, I definitely pulled slack and tried my best with it. And yeah, I kind of gassed out, to be honest, on some of it, but that's just my cardio issue. But we like a bit of challenge when it comes to challenging our cardio and everything. But with it, it's just like it's going pretty well with deadlifts. Hopefully nothing else happens. That's what I'm hoping, because I can't be asked with another injury. So that would be so fun. But we can't think about that. We got a job to do. We got to build up strength, build up everything, and build the physique I want, because that is the goal. Size, strength is the goal. So if you yourself want to do size and strength, you can always copy what I do, because to be honest, it's mainly power work and then doing the bodybuilding shit afterwards, because the bodybuilding shit's a lot easier. So, and we're on to some Pendlay rows here. This is like a power movement for deadlift, because oddly enough it helps with like the back portion, meanwhile RDLs do the leg portion. So I just tend to find these help my deadlift, because ever since doing them, my deadlift has gone up as well as doing RDLs. So I definitely recommend these for if you want to get a bigger deadlift, because I'm not a master, I'm not a person that's like high level, but I've definitely found there's just your average lifter that's worked, and it's getting me somewhere. So if you want to take my advice, take my advice. But anyway, on to some bodybuilding shit. We're doing some lat pull downs, and as you can see, the detail in the back, even though I'm basically like 15 to 20% body fat. But with this, yet again, as I keep saying in my videos, I'm mainly targeting the lower portion of my lats, so it becomes more full. My back becomes more full instead of a T-shape, which is slightly annoying, seeing as I tend to have higher lat insertions, which are not particularly great, but they can be pretty good for many back poses. Just when it comes to the front, it's a bit difficult, because my lats are so short, they don't pop out in the front. But that's just me criticising myself if I wanted to go into like a bodybuilding competition. So, and that's potentially in the future, it's potentially there, potentially next year. So I'll be competing naturally, of course, because I probably won't get too far in enhanced, because I can admit I'm not a genetic freak, so I probably won't get that far. But I'll definitely enjoy a bit of natural bodybuilding. So on some rows, these felt pretty good, honestly. So usually I don't feel these, but it's just like a combination of factors. My muscle connection with this movement isn't that great, and today it felt pretty good, just fairly smooth, my muscle connection, and yeah, just overall pretty good. And I can't really complain, because at least the movement did its job, because I'm trying to thicken up my back as well, because yes, I may do deadlifts that do help, But when it comes to your traps, which is basically, it's like your neck down to like your center of your back. That's where the muscle is. It's like a diamond shape, and to stimulate that, really, you have to do like some sort of like rowing movement. So either like hammer strength rows, stuff like that. All gets stimulated by that, and shrugs only do the upper portion of that muscle because it has upper, middle, and lower. But with rows, it typically targets all of it because you're using most of the muscle anyway. So you would typically find you are hitting most of the muscle anyway. But anyway, onto some on the cable. Some of Sebum's very, I see Sebum doing all these, and I've seen Sam Sulek do some of these, and I'll be honest, they're pretty good, and I do say I'd say they're pretty much the second best movement for biceps besides preacher curl, which if you've been on this channel for long enough, you know preacher curl is my favourite, bit primarily because of how it's treated my biceps in particular. So I'm definitely a preacher curl fan, is what I can definitely say. And cable curls, they're better than what I'd see to be just your average heavy curls, where you're just picking up a dumbbell or barbell and curling it. But with preacher, you have more control, and it's a lot more difficult, and it's not like an indication of how difficult it is, how good it is, but the way it's positioned, like when it comes to any like standing curl variation, you typically need to I wouldn't say I don't know how to explain it, but you'd have to be pretty strict, and then you'd go into some force reps, But for me, it don't really do much, because when I started the gym, I did those sorts of movements. I didn't notice much growth, but that's just me, And I found with more, time under tension movements. I'm not saying I'm a scientific lifter, because fuck that. But with time under tension, and with the cables always pulling on the muscle, because it's literally attached to a thing where it's constantly providing tension. And then same with preacher curl, as you go down, it's at an angle that is very hard to lower down and very hard to pick up. Hence why the intensity, the difficulty is able to stimulate my bicep into becoming bigger, because the stronger your muscle, the bigger your muscle. And that's what I typically believe, because you can't have a shit physique. You can't look like a twig and basically be able to lift the best in the world. You look at the greatest powerlifters, they're not that small. They're pretty big, even for their size. I looked at a guy who's from Denmark, I believe, and he was 63 kilos. He's either Norwegian or Denmark, but he's got the best deadlifting genetics, long arms, long legs, but he is built. People don't seem to understand that the more built you are, technically the more strong you are, because I've never seen a jacked dude not be strong. But anyway, onto some very, very sus movement. I call it the Jamal curl, because it's just a big black, dick looking thing. I'm just curling upwards. I just chose to do this one because stimulate the brachialis, and also to do my biceps more, because I just felt it just didn't fully do it for me, so I decided to just go to failure on these, and I can definitely say from now I'm definitely feeling it, you know. At least I'm feeling it the next day and everything, so yeah. It was a pretty good workout. I did more bicep movements this time, definitely got a lot of stimulation, and with back it still does need improvement in my opinion, because looking back at my posing, which you'll see in a bit, the back still does need a bit of growth and everything, because it just needs to be a bit more, you know, mature and thicker, but that will come with time, of course. So that's just like the way of, you know, bodybuilding supposedly, and building muscle, is that it'll all come with time. That's the best part about it, because you don't get it straight away, and that's what I actually like about, you know, stuff like this. You get better each time you do it, and you know, it's very enjoyable, it's very like pursuing, and that's why I always say go to the gym. It'll honestly make you feel better. And if you have made it to this part of the video, I mean, congratulations. I'm quite boring myself to listen to, but I do try, you know. I try do this as a bit of, you know, to get myself grounded and everything, because in a way, I don't have a job, so technically this just like provides enough for me, you know, where I just like train, show my content, and you know, it might get me somewhere, it might not, but I'm willing to take that chance and everything, which I'm very happy to do, because it makes me happy, all this, and you should too, because if you're not going to the gym and you're not like trying to improve yourself, then what's the point? Because I'll honestly tell you, the best thing I ever did was go to the gym, and I'll keep preaching about that until the day I die, because any physical activity is good activity, and I can show you that through my, you know, character progression and everything, because honestly, my, you know, whole confidence has come from this, and I've never felt any better about myself than I do now, because it's just insane to me how much I've managed to build, gain strength, you know, all that adds up in the end. And I very much say to you, the best, you know, cure for depression is fitness, because in total honesty, it's provided me with such confidence and such like stuff that it's made me happier than I probably would be, because honestly, if I wasn't, you know, probably doing all this, you know, when it comes to lifting and, you know, stuff, I'd probably be severely depressed and contemplating life. But now I do see the point of this really does help me, you know, I don't know how to word it, but it really does help me with my own mental struggles, especially being in the time that I am. So I'm quite lonely myself. So well, by I mean lonely as in like I don't have anyone, but I do have my friends, I have my dad, I have my mum. But it does get a bit lonely sometimes, especially when people around you, I'm not talking my friends, I'm talking about other people my age, are in relationships. Yeah, they're doing all this, they're doing all that, and it's kind of like, yeah, sort of wish I was like that, but I'm kind of glad I'm not, because I'm not rushing into anything. I'm not gonna, you know, technically force myself into anything, because that's just gonna provide me with such nothing. It's gonna provide me with pretty much nothing. So I'd definitely say this has saved my life, and I, you know, preach that you do this yourself, because honestly, it'll help you so much. And yeah, people may look at you slightly weird for, I don't know, you look slightly bigger than some people. You might be seen a bit weird for, liking certain things, but honestly, fuck them people, because people who judge, people who severely judge someone for being different, it's just on them. Like, people always used to judge me in college for, being slightly bigger than a lot of people, and they'll just say stuff like, oh, he's taking roids or something, even though I look natural to most people that know lifting and everything. I mean, I don't have any signs of taking anything, so they just don't know anything and they just think they can't do it. Therefore, they're jealous of me for actually being able to do what they think they can't do, which I think is a flex at the end of the day. So I'll continue flexing. But anyway, thanks for watching. I really do appreciate it. Thanks for listening to my waffle for 17 minutes. And yeah, thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.